Great rising, great rising. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody doing good. Let me know how the audio is now for when people hop in here. Just give it a couple seconds. I hope the audio good. Just give it a few seconds so we can get this work and do some good. Hope everybody enjoying their Saturday. And I'm gonna try to wait, let a few people get in here. But as always, y'all know I don't mind talking to myself and a camera. As long as y'all can get this message, this wisdom, and it does what it does for you. So I'm gonna be looking because I'm recording, I'm live. I'm gonna do both. Gonna multitask today. You can't tell today. The work is on self. Self. Everything starts with you. All right, let's get it. First of all, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name's Devin. I'm just on my journey. I've been on my journey for a few years now. And it's been up, it's been down. So I'm not perfect. I don't consider myself a preacher. I consider myself a mentor and a guide. And I like to leave it there. I hope everybody got their God, the newest testament, because this is what we diving into today. That's what today's work gonna be from. But yeah, I just always remember being very low and dark and just lost in life and within myself. So when I had an opportunity to find myself, I thought about all the other people who probably felt how I felt during them times, and I wanted to be what I wish I had in them moments. So that is the birth of divine conscious efforts. And this is what I'm called to do because I love doing it. Like I said, I don't care if I'm talking to one person, 100 people, or just a camera, as long as I can give back and just help other people. So let's get into it, man. Now I'm gonna start by letting you guys know what the newest testament is, because I know the title of the book can be a little unease for some people. So what I'm gonna say is it's an abridged. If you don't know what that is, it's like when you take information and you condense it into a short form. And that's what I've done with my collective of self-help knowledge and biblical text. Just to let you guys know, now I am a follower of Christ. I do believe in the faith in his walk. So that's what the newest testament is. It's not to replace the Bible or biblical things. Again, I'm not in that realm to establish that, but within the confines of what I can do and what God has called me to do in partnership with him and him gifting me perceptive discernment, this is the next thing. For those who are along the journey, for the chosen, let's get into it, man. Now I will be reading out of the book and off my computer where I have notes to give a in-depth understanding of where some of this wisdom has come from. And we're just going to go from there, We're going to start with the first chapter, which is the book of self, facing my demons. And I'm going to start off by just reading through it, and then we just gonna break down each verse, and I'm gonna give you guys some references and some testimony of my journey. And again, I hope all this can just resonate with who it's meant to resonate for, and it does what it needs to do. So just want to welcome everybody to the live session again. Shout out to all my new subscribers and followers. I really appreciate y'all engaging with me in the comments. Again, don't forget to comment on any video. We need that. I love that. It keeps me going. And it lets me know I'm helping somebody. And that's the goal of this, is to help and to get people back in connection with God and yourself. All right. The book of self. My demons have conditioned me and others around me to feed into my negative spirits, which in full create the conditions for my demons to continue to exist and coexist within myself. Myself is blind from this cycle by the illusions manifested by and in my experiences. Emotions, pain, hurt, loss, well-being, states of being, trauma, drama can all be illusions. And these illusions then become reality due to the amount of energy and attention that self feeds it. This is the becoming of being lost in self. I no longer know myself because I'm not acting in myself. My current self is acting in the spirit of current demons. We become possessed when we become ignorant of this. We become sick, and the illusion is the illness. It's just so powerful to me. It's so deep, because I remember experiencing every bit of this, and very poetic. So let's go. Let's start with the first verse, excuse me, which is, my demons have conditioned me and others around me to feed into my negative spirit. So I remember times where, I was younger and I would always question, why am I the way I am? Why am I like this? And it took some time to realize that sometimes you're not in control of the conditions that you're brought into. Some conditions we are. But what happens is we start to embrace the things that we are around, and we start to accept it, and we become it. And that often happens a lot of times with, low vibrational stuff and negative things. So basically, this verse, it speaks to the power dynamics within ourselves, like our inner demons, symbolic of our negative thoughts, our fears and insecurities. These things have the ability to influence not only ourselves, but also those who are around us. When we succumb to these negative spirits, and what happens is we inadvertently perpetuate their existence within ourself and our environment. A lot of times we don't even know that this is what's happening. Again, this is why it's illusion. It's smoke and mirrors within ourselves. And it's based off our upbringing a lot of times. A lot of the things that we experience, a lot of the things that have been, so traumatic, we carry it and we embrace it, like I said earlier. So this takes us to the next verse. And actually, before I go on, I want to use a couple references. Let's just start with the Bible itself. of in Matthew 12:43-45, we get, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, we walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then goeth he and taketh with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So again, it speaks on all these negative things or these negative spirits. And when I say demons and spirits, it's there are actual dark entities in this world that people have dealt with and experienced. But in this book, I'm not just talking in the magnitude of that. That's why I use spirits and demons. In fact, I'm going to give you some definitions from the back of the book. Again, it's a glossary in the back, and that's for a reason, and so you can get further understanding of it. So let's just start with self. The definition of self: a person or thing referred to with the respect to complete individuality, a person's nature, a person's character, and etc. Definition for demon is a person considered extremely wicked, evil, or cruel, even evil-spirited, and having evil influence or passions. And then a definition for illusion: the state or condition of being deceived by producing a false or misleading impression of reality, an instance of being deceived. So I like to always give definitions to things, because a lot of times wording and how you define things determines your comprehension of it. And a lot of times that's what we deal with in life. The way we comprehend life, the way we comprehend ourselves is it gets a little distorted because of our journey, because of the things that we endure and that we go through. Another reference, if you guys have ever heard of Neville Goddard, a brilliant mind. He's done a lot of work in self-help, but he often discusses the concept of inner vision and the power of imagination to shape our perception of reality. He teaches that we must transcend the limitations of our physical senses and awaken to the spiritual ones, the spiritual truths within us. And that's what this is. That's why it's divine and conscious efforts, because you have to, it takes both to get a complete understanding of who you are and the path you are on through your connection with divine source, God. So let's go to the next one, the next verse. The next verse, the book of Self, verse 2. Myself is blinded from this cycle by the illusions manifested by and in my experiences. So like I just said before, like in verse 1, a lot of times we are blind to these things because we're caught in the cycle of emotions. This is why, well, I did a live on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram. The links are in the bio. But we talked about self-realization to prepare for this live. And part of the self-realization is understanding our mental imbalances due to self-illusion. And again, in verse 1, those self-illusions could be emotions. So when we tend to go through life, we often question why we're experiencing the things we experience. Like, why has this happened to me? Or how come, we end up comparing ourselves a lot of times. Like, how come this person isn't experiencing what I'm going through? Well, that person has their own set of inner things that they carry. Not all of us experience the same things through life, good or bad. And a lot of times this creates a cycle. Uh, and in that cycle created manifests a collective of illusions that disorientate how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive life. And see, once you start perceiving yourself in a negative way according to what you've been through, right? Or according to what you've what I like to use emotion a lot, what you feel, right? Because a lot of times our emotions drive us. Well, then you start to create a cycle. It's like planting a negative seed and then watering it, not understanding that there's more to why you are the way you are. Um, Also, this verse highlights how we often are blinded by the illusions created by our experiences. Our perceptions of reality may be, like I said, distorted by past traumas, societal conditions, even false beliefs. And this prevents us from really recognizing the truth of our existence. So again, a lot of us growing up, well, I'm gonna speak for me. I remember a lot of times growing up, I often questioned my existence, and it's having those questions, but not having the answers with it plants a seed. And then when you water that with, depression, traumatic experiences, um, growing up in certain conditions, you kind of you start to you start to believe, you start to try to answer those questions yourself, but what you're answering those questions off a false sense of who you are, because you really don't know who you are in existence. So I used to question that, and with the things that I went through, the bad things, it led to eventually me getting to a point where I had those suicidal thoughts, where I would question, why am I here? Am I just here to be alone, to feel alone? Am I just here to feel depressed? Am I just here to feel hurt? And I'm gonna tell you now that that's an illusion. And this is again why I wanted to start with the book of self, because see, those are the dark spirits, those demons that we have to look within our internal and face. Have you ever heard people always talk about shadow work, right? That's what shadow work is. Shadow work is diving within yourself and facing these things to see through the smoke and mirror and the illusions of what we've experienced. Now, me saying that, that's not to say that the things you experience don't matter. No, everything matters, because it all plays a part of who you are, how you grow, who you become, and more importantly, how you should connect back to source. So let's get some references for verse 2. And I'm gonna give references of both King James verses and NIV for those, just to be fair for now, But um, this one is 2 Corinthians 4:4 out of NIV. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who is in the image of God. And then to kind of give a breakdown on what that, to me, how I perceive that. And again, I want you guys to always do the work yourself, because it's nothing like getting a message or getting some understanding and wisdom, but not cross-referencing yourself. But again, when we don't accept the fact that we could be an illusion and have experienced these illusions, you ultimately downplay who you truly are, because you're not embracing who you truly are. You're embracing who you've become through your experiences. And a lot of time that's illusion. Let's keep going here. Let's go to verse 3. Again, emotions, pain, hurt, loss, well-being, state of being, trauma, dramas, these can all be illusions. So again, I like to use emotions because emotions really drive us. A lot of us are driven by our emotions, and we don't have a full understanding of what they are. And I'm not going to go too deep on emotions because that's alive in itself. But I know a lot of us tend to respond to our emotions instead of processing them. I like to tell people, all right, you should process and consider your emotions like a notification for from a soul. Like your emotions are ways to kind of determine what it is you are experiencing, how you should move. Again, it's a notification. And a lot of times, some of us, soon as we get a notification, we just react. We just react and respond. Um, And I like to tell people, you don't have to treat your emotions like the notifications on the phone. Sometimes it's just to let you know, hey, this is this, so you can process it. Um, and part of processing that is looking within. So in this verse, it challenges our conventional understanding of reality by suggesting the many aspects of our lives. So, like I said, or including emotions, pain, loss, and even well-being, and this can be perceived as illusions because, again, when you're not in control of the conditions that you experience, because again, a lot of the times we've been domesticated by religion, by society, by culture to accept or become what is our external, but you are not the external, you are your internal. So that's why it's so good to do that shadow work internally, so you can clear the dark and see the light within yourself, and then you can project who you are truly internally to your external. And see, once you start to do that, that's how you control and manifest the things you experience. So let's go back to the question I asked that we often ask at times when we go through things. Why am I experiencing this? Well, what's going on internally? I like to say that our external, some of the times, is a reflection of our internal. Me personally, as I use my hindsight, as I reflect, all of the time, what I experienced externally was a reflection of me internally. Um, yeah, so I know people have dealt and carry a lot of traumatic things that affect them. So what I'm saying here is, don't you can't ignore your traumas. And a lot of us try to suppress our traumas. And then that's why it comes out the way it does emotionally. But you have to accept what you've been through because it's part of you, right? You just don't have to become it. And a lot of times we try to become our traumas. A lot of the times we hold on so much to how much it hurt. We hold on to the pain, we hold on to the loss, that before you know it, because you hold on to it so much, you become it. And once you become it, that your walk becomes that. Again, you start to project that externally. And another thing is, through my walk, I've really realized how much verse 3 plays into every part of my life. Every part. I mean, it's so many times I can look back and, man, why was I even doing that? What made me even consider to go down that left path? Or what made me comfortable to act out in the ways I did? Well, it's because I accepted all of those bad things, all of those negative things, all those low vibrational things as normal, right? And then because I accepted it as normal, it was easy for me to identify with that. And once you start to identify with things, especially in a negative extent, you become that. You ever dealt with people I just do not understand why they are like that, why they are like that, why they are like that. And it's not normal to you, but it's normal to them. And it's normal to them because those are the conditions that they've been through their journey, through their life. So sometimes we don't even know we're in illusion. Like I said earlier, a lot of times religion is illusion because as a child, you're not in control of who your parents are. So if your parents have this religion or these beliefs, that's what they instill within you. And that right there is the start of the domestication and the suppression of who you were truly meant to be. And sometimes, and that's not to say that our parents don't have wisdom or their intentions are bad. It's just they're doing what they were taught or what they know. And it's a generational cycle. So you ever heard people say the black sheep? Usually the black sheep is the person who sees through those cycles. And a lot of times we tend to feel ashamed of that. I know I did. When I started to wake up, a lot of people don't know I was shot. So when I was shot and how that played out, it really opened my eyes to how I have been living. And it just really, it just opened my eyes to not just myself, but everything. And when I just remember waking up and trying to have certain talks and conversations with certain people, and they just like, it wasn't resonating, it wasn't connecting, whether friends or family. And, I often kind of teetered back and feared, I didn't embrace the change. I didn't embrace the views I had. Instead, I kind of shied back just because of what I thought other people were going to think of me. And you can't do that because that itself is the conditioning of your illusion. So those type of things take you back to verse 1. When you have conditioned yourself and the people around you to feed into the negative parts of which you've been blind to. So imagine if, you woke up and you had these new revelations about life and about yourself, and you're so excited and you're ready to heal those traumas, you're ready to deal with those pains, and you start to do that work, but then you start to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't understand the process you're in. And especially if you have a close connection with these people, they may not, you may startle them, you might shake up their demons. So a lot of times that's what's happening. A lot of times what we are experiencing with each other, it's a spiritual aspect to it too. Like, ain't you ever been walking, you having a good day, and then somebody just mug you? What this person mugging me? And I ain't did it. Well, it's because some people are in their negative spirits and they can see the light within you, and sometimes they can't resonate with that. Some people want that and can't achieve it for whatever reason. And a lot of times I feel like it's because we don't have the right information, or the information that's available is so distorted. And again, that's where the newest testament comes from. It's an abridgment of the walk of Christ, God's word, self-help, so you can focus on the path, focus on the journey, and not be so confused about this opinion, this story, this religion, this power structure. No, it keeps you focused on you, your walk, and your connection to God. All right, let's keep going. Of course, I'm going to give y'all a reference. We're going to go back to the King James Version for this one. Vanity of vanities. And this is Ecclesiastes 1, verse 1. Chapter 1, verse 2. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Again, we start to take our experiences in vain. And again, you try to become them. But just because what you experience is what you experience, that is not who you are. It's just a part of what you've been through. And everything we go through is to expose a part of what we need to see to be greater. And a lot of times, use me, for example, what we go through may be a testimony for somebody else. Me being shot and still being here today to be where I'm at now, it can inspire somebody else who's been through something, because when I got shot, I'm not gonna lie, I got very dark. I got very evil, and I embraced it, especially with the path I was on. I was ready, but again, that's the vanity, that's me, that was me, embracing the dark emotions, embracing the trauma, embracing that current state of being, and identifying with it and becoming it. And once you become these emotions, these hurts, these well-beings, and it's not in alignment with your truest self, you then are creating demons within yourself. Not all the time are these negative spirits and these demons and these experiences the cause from external. A lot of times we internally are causing these things ourselves. Now, not everything is your fault. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have to be aware. Like I told you, I went live on Instagram. We did self-realization. That's what that is. You have to have these self-realizations of what's what. Okay, just because this person did this to me, right? I don't have to go and do that to somebody else. I'm a prime example. There's so many things that were done to me as a child that I end up doing as I grew up that just were not of me. But because I didn't have a healthy way of expressing what was done to me, I embodied it and I became it. And I was molested when I was younger by women, by men. So it's like, who at a young age, and you don't know what that is, and this is from people who are supposed to love you, you get confused. And I feel like that's what we're dealing with in the world today. It's a lot of us, we are just confused. We are confused by our pain. We're confused by our hurt. And when we don't have no way to understand these things, we carry it with us. We carry it with us. And then once we carry it with us, we become it. Now, that's not to say that's everybody's situation. That's mine. Again, there's a reason why I'm so passionate about this. There's so many things that I'm sorry for. There's so many things that, I've allowed my inner demons, and I've allowed my inner, all these illusions to overtake me, my being. And in return, I end up hurting people. But see, this is where you got to have the conviction, the conscience to realize, no, This ain't okay. This not right. But there's light through it all. And that's what I'm trying to be. I'm just trying to be a light through it all, a God through it all, a mentor through it all. That's what Jesus was. A light through it all, a God through it all, a mentor through it all. I'm not Jesus. I'm just trying to give you an understanding of what he represented as far as a connection to divine source, as far as a connection to how life on earth it was supposed to be. What you got to understand is a lot of what we're dealing with has been controlled. And they keep us so distracted and disoriented that we miss this. We miss this wisdom. We miss this insight. Or they flood you with so much information, it's confusing. Yes, you have the power to do a lot of things within yourself. So yes, self-help is good. Loving yourself is good. But when you deny the spiritual connection that plays a part in that, that's a different story. That could be hindering a lot of what we dealing with, or as far as our progress through our journey, as far as our progress of getting better. So again, don't shy away from the things that you've been through. You acknowledge it. You just don't have to become it. You don't have to become that loneliness you felt all through your childhood to where now you are depression. A lot of us have parent issues, daddy issues, mommy issues. That lack of a father, that lack of a connection with your mother does not have to become the parent you are. That's where a lot of our parental issues come from. That's another live. That spirit's not, I'm not gonna go there yet. But let's continue for I'll be lost. All right, Book of Self, verse 4. These illusions then become a reality due to the amount of energy, intention, cells feeds it. So these illusions only exist the way they do because of the energy and attention we feed it. Like I just was speaking on. That's literally what I was just talking about. You know, by investing our energy and attention into these illusions, we inadvertently give them power and substance, causing them to shape our reality. See, what this verse does, it underscores the importance of mindful awareness, these self-realizations, and the need to redirect our focus towards that which really aligns with our true essence. You were meant to be somebody in this life. That's the beauty of existence. But if you're not going to be open to do the work that may be required to get an understanding of who you truly are, well, you will forever be lost in the illusions of your experience of the external and the illusions of the internal. See, that's a double whammy. Not only are there illusions externally, but there are illusions internally. And if you succumb to both, that is your demise. That's how you get so low. That's how I got to the point where I wanted to not be on earth anymore. Overwhelmed by the illusions, overwhelmed by these emotions, overwhelmed by the hurt, overwhelmed by all these things. But that's the beauty of God. that connection with him. See, I always like to tell people the true religion out here is your relationship with divine source, your relationship with God. And that is what determines your flow in this universe. So I have to realize that the universe is God's house. So you got to play by his rules. And what we have going on right now is there's power structures in this world who are trying to create their own rules. And in order for them to create their own rules, they have to distract you. They have to distract me. They have to distract us from fully becoming who we truly are under God. So then we can become who they want us to become through the illusions that they create for us externally, through the fear. That's why I made the video about fear. When you have a connection that supersedes earthly things, what is your fear? See, being a person who's been so low, suicidal thoughts, been so low that I've hurt others, it's just, it just doesn't have to be like that. So we can't allow them to keep creating and controlling who we are allowed to be. They try to put God in a box and they try to put conditions on God, which then put us in a box and then put conditions on us. You are in control and can be in control of who you are allowed to become. Don't let life determine that for you. Don't let the things that you go through determine that for you. Sometimes you got to isolate yourself from these things so you can really process and find who you are and who you are meant to be in this world. Especially when you are a parent. Because see, as a parent, you are the start of the conditioning of the next generation. We are the start of the conditioning of the next generations. So if we really want to make a change here, yes, we got to start with ourselves, but the direction really need to go to the generations up under us who are not in control of the conditions that they are in. War, poverty. That's what I'm talking about when I say the power structures are in control of what you experience. That's why it's important not to become the things you experience, because a lot of the times what we are experiencing is not even in our control. So if you think what you're experiencing is fully in your control a certain way and it's not, you really become lost. So again, you have to align yourself with your true essence. And the beginning of that is self-realization of who you are truly meant to be, and healing from the things that you've been through. The start of healing is facing it. Analogy of the doctor, you go to the doctor, they can give you a pinpoint of where you can start to fix the things and the ailments of your vessel. Well, it's the same thing consciously, it's the same thing emotionally, it's the same thing spiritually. You have to have somewhere to pinpoint to start so you can know what you need to do to heal it. That's what that shadow work is. It's not nothing to fear. Embrace it, but embrace it knowing the end goal, knowing the outcome and the result you really want, which is, how can I be better? How can I be more than what I've experienced? How can I be more than this pain? How can I be more than this hurt? How can I be more than this rape? How can I be more than this attack on me spiritually, physically? How can I be more than this abuse mentally and emotionally, sexually? How can I be more than this? Well, you got to sift through that surface of darkness that's within so you can get back through, dig down deep so you can go back to the beginning and start from there. Start from there knowing where you're at now. In Proverbs 23:7, for as he thinks in his heart, so he is. And Neville Goddard, he will frequently discuss the power of imagination and how our predominant thoughts and beliefs shape our experiences. See, basically what he was trying to say is that what we focus on with the feelings in the conviction becomes our reality. Verse 5, this is the becoming of being lost in self. So when you accept all of these things and you embrace it, that is the start of being lost within yourself. That's the beginning right there. So when we become entangled in these illusions, we lose sight of our true selves. Don't lose sight of who you truly are. And unfortunately, some of us have never even have a glimpse of who we truly are. But if this video crosses you, I really hope this is that glimpse on the inside for you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That light at the end of the tunnel is your rebirth. It is your rebirth. That is how we evolve from all the things that we have experienced. That's how you shed that off. Yeah. And that's how I was. I will often wonder the same things. Sometimes I still do. But that faith, that belief that you don't have to be what you experienced, it should keep you going. So keep going. That's where this comes from. This live, this content, it comes because I kept going. It came because I didn't accept. You do not have to subscribe to all of the things that you endure that make you feel so low. You don't have to subscribe to it. You can read it. Yeah, read the magazine, read your emotions, read your experiences. But you don't have to buy into it to the point that it becomes your truth. Well, I hope this can be a safe space for you because this is what it's meant to be. That's why I say welcome home. Welcome home. Because that again, when I was very suicidal, when I was so lonely, even in the midst of being around family and friends who I considered my loved ones, I still felt alone. And I never knew what that feeling was. Basically, I was empty. I was just empty. And when I was so empty, the thing that filled me up was darkness. And a lot of times when we are empty and all we seem to experience are bad things, well, then we fill our cup up with negativity. of these illusions. So to find yourself, you have to accept that you're lost. And a lot of times we are too prideful. We have too much ego. We're too worried about what other people are going to say that we turn a blind eye and completely ignore that we're lost. And we try to imitate and emulate what we see and compare and contrast of other people, especially on social media. Social media gives you that access for you to compare with some, I used to scroll all the time, be like, this person having so much fun, look what they got. And that will blind me from the beauty of the things that I had within myself. Excuse me. And I found myself trying to chase the emotion I seen through their post. See, what people post isn't always the full reality of their experiences. A lot of times people are posting how they really want to perceive themselves, what they really want to feel. It's an escape. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. I will have you in my prayers. I just remember, like, man, you know what? I had so many things to be appreciative of. But see, we try to compare our success with the success of others. We try to compare what looks good for somebody else that denies what's good for us. Everybody's different. What works for somebody else may not work for you. What works for you may not work for somebody else. That's why you have to focus on the path you're on, the journey that you're on. We are all so unique. And unfortunately, we live in a world with conditions that try to make us similar and the same. But we have to embrace our uniqueness, because see, once you embrace your uniqueness and then you come across a person who embraces their uniqueness, you're going to have certain wisdom that they're not going to have. They're going to have certain insight that you're not going to have. And it's the sharing of that that starts to make an imprint and a change on the world. That's what we need. We don't need everybody trying to be the same. We don't need everybody to try to be a rap. We don't need everybody to try to be an entertainer. We don't need everybody to try to be a scientist. We don't need everybody to try to do this. We need everybody to embrace who they truly are. So the things that God has planned can play out. Because right now we're going through these wars because of that. Let's keep going. 6, I no longer know myself because I'm no longer in myself. Acting in myself, I'm sorry. I no longer know myself because I'm not acting in myself. Again, that's the becoming being lost in self. So when you no longer know yourself, right? 9 times out of 10, it's because you're not even acting in yourself. A lot of times we're acting. I'm jumping ahead. Let me slow down. This verse, it reflects the dissonance between our authentic selves and our persona. You know, we tend to adopt to navigate the world a certain way through our authentic selves versus our personas. See, when we stray from who we truly are, when we stray from our true nature, we lose touch with our core essence. And this results in a profound sense of alienation and inner turmoil. So when I was lost, when I didn't know who I was, that's why it was so easy to act in ways that were not of me, because I was lost. It was so easy to get into mischief and crime when I didn't know who I truly was, especially when I based who I was off the conditions that I grew up in. I got a big family, so the conditions I grew up in was a wide range of things. But at the end of the day, I felt like I had to become what was surrounding me. And that's not the case. Some of the most successful stories stem from that, stem from people who didn't accept or didn't want to accept the things that they were around. So that became a driving force for them to, you know what, I got to make a different way. I can no longer keep dealing and feeling it. I got to make a way. I don't want to be in poverty no more. I got to make a way. Some of the most successful stories stem from a person who did not want to accept their illusions. And they had to create another way. So what I'm telling you guys today is you don't have to accept that lost part of who you are when you have an avenue to create another way. That's what this is for. That's what this is for. I'm not just telling you guys to get this for sales. I'm telling you to get it for your soul, for your spirit. So again, I no longer know myself because I'm not acting in myself. Let's give some reference to that. Let's go. I want to go back to King James Version. Let's do Luke 9:25. For what is a man advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? Have you ever heard those stories where people commit suicide and they got all the money, they got all the things worldly that you would hope to dream for? Because what is all that stuff if you are lost within? See, the external stuff only matters for a certain amount of time. Eventually, it doesn't matter what you surround yourself to kind of distract you from what's going on internally. When you're alone in that success, but you feel lost. That's why I always tell people the greatest health is your wealth. I mean, your greatest wealth is your health. And it took me a long time to understand that. That's how I'm able to embrace my purpose. That's how you're going to be able to embrace who you are. When you focus on your health, your inner being, and you allow that to supersede all these things that you've been through. Let's hurry up and go to the next verse, because verse 5 and 6 go hand in hand. I'm gonna read 5 and then go on to 6. This is the becoming of being lost in self. I no longer know myself because I'm not acting in myself. Verse 7. My current self is acting in the spirit of current demons. So I remember meditating and reflecting and realizing, have you ever had them situations you're like, why did I just act out like that? Why did I just do that? That ain't even me. That's verse 7. That's because your current self is acting in the spirit of those current demons. That's where that phrase being triggered comes from. A lot of us get triggered because of that. We start to allow ourselves to act in those spirits in those from those illusions. Don't let the world continue to trigger you and control you when it doesn't have to be the case. Don't let the job determine who you truly are. Don't let that group of people that you hang with determine who you truly are. You have to be in control of your current self. And if you're not, your current self will start acting in those illusions. And if you keep allowing that to happen, let's go up a couple verses. That's the cycle. That's verse 2. Being caught in that cycle. And then once you're in that cycle, you're lost. But it's time to be found. But we can't expect people around us to find us, to help us find it. Like, there are people like me. There are other people who want to give you guidance or insight or the wisdom that they've gained through their journey to help you. But at the end of the day, you have to do the work. You have to want it. You have to be tired of it. You have to see more. You have to be more. And you don't have to do it on your alone. And when I say alone, I'm not talking about other people. I'm talking about that spiritual part. Some things are out of your control. Some things you got to have a higher thing to fall back on, a higher understanding. So here in this verse, it suggests that our actions and behaviors are often dictated by the influences of our inner demons. Plain and simple. See, when we allow these negative forces to dictate our thoughts and actions, we relinquish our control to our destiny. And see, we all have a destiny. And that's the part that is suppressed by the power structures and the conditions of today's world. They are controlling our destiny. They are putting limitations on who you are meant to be. You are allowing the external to affect your internal to where the point of you're affecting who you're meant to be. You're affecting the destiny that you see or do not see. But we all have it. And to understand what that is, you have to have a sense of understanding of who you truly are. You have to have these self-realizations that, you know what? I'm more than this 9 to 5. I'm more than this habit. I'm more than what I see on the news. I'm more than my race. I'm more than just my culture. Man, this is deep because it just got me reflecting on how lost I used to be. Those feelings I used to feel. So don't give away the reins to your destiny to society. Don't give it away to the power structures that have conditioned the current realities of our states of being on this earth. It's time to wake up. That's why I always say that. That's why I always tell people life is beautiful when you allow it to be. Because right now, we are allowing our life to be what is projected upon us. Instead of projecting who we truly are on the inside onto the world. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do my best to project what's internally me onto the world so they have a different effect than what things are having an effect on us. Especially because I'm a father. So I have to lead by example. So if you are a parent, don't forget your children are watching. They are watching. And if you just accept who the world wants you to become, they're just going to accept who the world wants them to become instead of becoming who they're truly meant to be. Romans 7:15. I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do. See, Mr. Goddard, he will frequently talk about the battle between the conscious and the subconscious mind and how our inner beliefs influence our actions. So what he was trying to teach us was that aligning our subconscious belief with our conscious desires is essential for our manifestation. It is key to how you manifest. That's why when people talk about the law of attraction, what you think about, you bring about. When you think negative, you tend to see negative. When you think positive, you tend to feel positive. So don't let these illusions dictate how you perceive what's going on with you. Don't let it control how you manifest in your life. If I was to let all the things I went through control, I would be, ain't no telling where I would be, for one, but I would think down the path I was going, I would be in a place I wouldn't want to be. Or I probably wouldn't even be here, honestly. I would not be here in front of this camera. I would not be here making these videos if that was the case. Oh, I love that. A subscriber said, I no longer allow pain to be my teacher. I allow love to be my teacher. That's beautiful. And that's one of the things the spirit, the walk of Jesus Christ was teaching. Let love be. I see that's what's wrong with the world. We really need that now. That is such a beautiful quote. I would love to be able to quote that in a book. So please reach out to me with that so you can get credit for that. That is beautiful. Whether it's on here, whether you follow me on Instagram at divine_conscious_efforts. I love that. We have to allow love to be our teacher. We do, because right now it's hatred. Right now it's jealousy. Right now it's greed. Right now it's power. And again, that's why the world is in the condition that it is now. Because we have 1% controlling the 99. When 99 is so much bigger than 1%. It's due to math. That's a beautiful one. I love that affirmation. I love that. But that's why we are in the conditions we are now, because we stopped allowing love to teach us. Instead, we started allowing the illusions. And just think about the generations up under us. Think about what's teaching them right now. I have YouTube kids. They watch YouTube. And there's so many things. Be times I listen to my kids or I have conversations with my kids and I don't understand where they get the things that they say. And then I forget that they have been exposed to this world. And unfortunately right now, and we are going through a shift. There is a shift. There is something new brewing and happening. That's what keeps me going, especially to do my part. It's to reshape our conditions. It's to reshape our reality. It's to reshape the power structure that is putting such a negative ceiling on our well-being and where we could amount to, the things that we can achieve, whether it's personally or as a collective. But either way, love has to definitely be our teacher. So beautiful. I thank you for that. I really thank you for that. Let's keep going. Almost done. 2 more verses. Verse 8. We become possessed when we become ignorant of this. So if we ignore that our current self is acting in the spirit of our current demons, what that is possession. That's when you allow those illusions to take over. That's what possession is. When something takes over your spirit, your being, your temple. So a lot of us, we walking around possessed. You gotta, again, like the movies, there are circumstances where people really deal with evil spirits and demonic things in that nature. But some of us are possessed and don't even know it. I used to, that's those suicidal thoughts was a spirit. I was possessed and didn't even know it. A lot of us are walking around with the identity of our pain and our traumas, and they're claiming that as them, and they don't even know that that's what they're doing. Again, this is what motivates me to wake people up, or like they say, that's why I love the movie The Matrix on so many levels, but especially spiritually. Sometimes I do feel like a Neo. I had to be woken up, and now that I'm woke, I have to wake others. So I'm gonna do everything in my ability to affect a different outcome than what we have right now. And I'm willing to go the distance. You have to be willing to go the distance for yourself. See, we are so quick to be willing to go the distance for all these other external things, but we sleep on ourselves. We don't even give ourselves the attention it deserves. Don't be so willing to go the extra mile for other things when you won't go the extra mile to find out who you truly meant to be. If you're not going to go the extra mile to put out what you're truly meant to put out in your destiny as a part of your purpose. Your true identity is deep within. Deep within. You are not just that piece of plastic card that you carry around. You are so much more than a social security number. So don't become possessed with your ignorance. Do not be ignorant of the illusions. Do not be ignorant of what's really going on in this world. See, this world, this new war, it's spiritual. Yes, there's the illusion that it's about land, and no, these are spirits fighting spirit. This is good versus evil. This is light versus dark. This is wrong versus right. And they want to distract you from that. That's why you have to have your conscience. That's why you have to give a conscious effort to understand what the divine really had in store for every being. Ignorance of the influence of our inner demons leads to the state of spiritual possession. Like I just said, we become enslaved by our negative patterns and beliefs. Do not be a slave to your negative patterns or your negative beliefs that were instilled in you through your journey up until this point. You do that, it's really hard. It makes you unable to break free from the shackles of your own making. That's why I said a few verses ago, like a lot of times we think the things that we go through are just because of the external things. It's not just because of the government. It's not just because of this. It's not just because of that. It's because it's each individual is going through something to where they're not being true to who they are, especially when you have a conscience about yourself. See, the reason they show us all this violence, all this dysfunction is so that we normalize it. Think about it. They show so much murder, death, dysfunction that when we're in the midst of personally seeing it, the only thing we can do is pull out our phone and record it. Instead of realizing what's really going on. I was in that group. I used to be ready and willing to do whatever to anybody. I did not care. I didn't have a conscience. I was dark. Very dark. But it was that darkness that just made me tired. I was tired of being in the dark. I wanted to see some light. I was tired of being held back in life. I could never understand why I would lose this job, why I would go through this, why would I experience that? Well, it's because I wasn't putting myself in a position to experience anything else. It's because I put a shackle on my leg and I attached my leg to the past and I allowed the past to be my current reality. Instead of being present, instead of allowing myself to open up. And a lot of times that's what we're doing to ourselves. We shackle ourselves to those traumatic experiences. And then we wonder why we can't get ahead. That's because spiritually and mentally, you have shackled yourself to that moment. That's what part of letting go is. It's not to forget. You never forget because it's something to learn from. It's just removing the shackle from it. It's so you can fully move forward from your past so that you can experience and be better. That's what chasing greatness is. We're going to go to Hosea 4:6 in the NIV. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Have you ever, I heard that the Vatican has an underground vault full of books and artifacts and things that they don't want the world to. Why do you think that is? It's to keep us ignorant of knowledge and wisdom that is meant for everybody. A lot of what I'm sharing with you guys, a lot of what I'm going to continue to share with you guys is a collection of wisdom that was not meant for us to have. But I'm going to stand on business and make sure you have some availability to this insight. I'm going to continue to use the perceptive discernment that God blessed me with to connect dots. I'm going to continue to use the things that are within my true essence to be of some help and some service of the collective. So you can realize and become who you were truly meant to be. And so that you can do the same, so you can have an imprint on the world, on your children, on your family. So then we can shift and change the flow of existence for those to come after us. Because I'm tired of reading history and it's all war and it's all famine and it's all these negative things. Like when we gonna start to teach love? When are we gonna be able to look through the history books and read and learn about situations where it was the collective moving and operating out of love? Now, I'm not gonna say you have to love everybody, but at the end of the day, we do have to allow love to be our teacher. And that's what Jesus Christ was, whether you believe it or not. That's what he represent. That's what he represented. And see, we need to stop arguing about what's this and what's that. But Eddie Griffin has the perfect thing. We always arguing about who's the true Messiah and this and that. Well, who's the real messenger? The thing is, did you get the message? Are we getting the message, or are we allowing society and these power constructs to manipulate that? I'm asking myself. Right. That's why I say the true religion is your relationship with God. And see, I'm a testimony, okay? There are so many times God has given me confirmation with my journey, but you just got to really seek it. You got to understand that what's going on with religion, what's going on with spirituality, and what's going on with scriptures, text. I feel like the version of the Bible we have, it has the imprints and fingers of power structure, of personal opinion. It's been reviled so many times. It's being manipulated. Again, that's why I got to be careful how I say this. I'm going to say it like this. This is why my journey led to this, the newest testament, to abridge the Bible, and to pull out the information that is most important for the divine being of yourself. Because I believe we all stem from source, from God. But there are instances where we get manipulated and duped, and then we become the complete opposite of what God intended us to be. So I believe the Bible has now become the complete opposite of what he intended it to be. He intended it to keep us morally straight. He intended it for it to be how we should love each other. But now it's become so divisive. So yes, I'm referencing the Bible because I would never try to outdo God's word. Instead, I wanted to take God's word and all the wisdom from the information that's available and put it into a little form like this to where you can understand it. It's very simple. It was just to simplify and to keep the focus on what it was meant to be. We're going to go back to Neville Goddard. Neville often emphasized the importance of self-awareness and the understanding that the power of our own consciousness. We have to understand the power of our own consciousness. See, right now, a lot of us are using consciousness just to manifest materialistic things and not manifest their truest self. Final verse before we get off here. The book of self, my demons, verse 9. We become sick. An illusion is the illness. So when we become ignorant and possessed, we now become sick, and that sickness is illusion. This verse basically equates our attachment to the illusions, that shackle I was speaking about, to illusions, with spiritual sickness. So I feel like a lot of what we're experiencing is spiritual sickness. I think everything starts spiritually before it manifests physically. So when we cling to these false perceptions and negative patterns, we create a discord within ourselves. This is leading to the emotional and psychological and spiritual malice that we are experiencing today. It is the exact reason we are experiencing what we're experiencing today. For the reference of this, I'm gonna go to Matthew 9, verse 12. But when Jesus heard that, he said unto them, they that be whole need not a physician, but they are sick. So not all the times when you're sick do you need the doctor. Sometimes you just need some spiritual healing. Now, disclaimer, that's not to say that any disease or anything that a person goes through medically, physically, can be cured spiritually. What I'm saying is a lot of times we are the cause of our own bodily stress, and it starts within our internal. It starts from the stress. It starts from the anxiety. It starts from the depression. And the great Dr. Sebi once said, disease is dis-ease in the body. So if you're dis-ease spiritually, it's going to manifest physically. You ever seen people that you got a glow about yourself? Was because they're spiritually in a place where they are healthy. So it's showing in the physical. And that's not to say that that's going to be the case for everybody. See, true healing comes from recognizing that spiritual truths are an underlining of our physical experiences. See, the power of our faith and imagination is manifesting the health and the wholeness we all need and seek. We can often so many times be the cause of our own illness, because a lot of the times we can be the cause of our own illusions, or if not the cause of our illusion, we make the conscious decisions or choices that keep us attached to that. So it's time to break free. It's time to wake up and have the self-realizations of who you're truly meant to be. It's time to face those illusions, those inner demons, and shed them. I really hope you like this. I really hope it helps. Please, as always, share, stay in connection with me, because this is just the beginning of our journey here. We got so much to do. We got so much to do, and I'm so excited to do this. You know, as always, never give up, never settle. Always be your true self. Always love your true self. Just always love yourself in general. Remember, God loves you, and that life is beautiful when we allow it to be. Next time.